introduction, a little words to say about her. And I can truthfully say I've had the good fortune of knowing Sister Pat since she was head of religious education at St. Joan of Arc for 9 years. This was the beginning of a great friendship that I really am happy to have with her. Sister Pat's vocation has taken her to very many different places. She served as vicar for ministry and faith formation for the Diocese of Las Vegas. While she was there, if you were fortunate enough to get a Christmas card from her, you could see her riding a camel, posing with a Playboy bunny, or skiing the slopes. I would have to say that Pat is what you would call a Renaissance nun, or should I say, a Renaissance woman. She has honored her thirst for knowledge and has a great passion for life. She is creative, educated, charming, and witty. She constructs the mummers with the best of the mummers. She is spiritual and in touch with the Lord, and all who have been touched by her are certainly blessed. She served as special executive assistant to the president of Iona College, where she shot hoops with the best of them. I saw it on the internet. Sister Pat has come full circle and is back in New Jersey at Christ the King's Parish in Haddonfield as pastoral associate. But you never know when wanderlust will take hold of her again. But not much ado, it is with great pleasure to present Sister Pat on what I did on my summer vacation. I know she's a better public speaker than me.
Well, it sure is nice to be here. I didn't quite come full circle, because the full circle would have brought me back to a place that you all know that is very dear to my heart, and that is St. Joan of Arc in Marlton, New Jersey. I say that all over, not just when I'm speaking in Marlton, and mostly, always, the whole entire reason that it is so near and dear to me is all the people that are sitting in front of me right now. Now, I have to say that you really must not have much of a life since I left here. Because if you have nothing else better to do than to listen to an old nun talk about a walk she talked and she took in the summer, we have little things to plan. I think I heard of somebody, this is really sad, celebrating their 43rd anniversary here tonight. So would Paul and Mary Kay Barnhart please stand up so we can... Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Somebody else, another anniversary. 2 days ago. Oh, not tonight. Any birthdays, any anniversaries? Give us all.
75.
Today?
Oh.
75? Oh my God.
75 is still alive. That's my motto.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, here's the situation. I don't know how to do these things. And everyone said you should have pictures. But when the topic is what I did on my summer vacation, most people don't want somebody to go home and say, would you like to see my pictures? I can tell you, I never saw these. I went in June, and I never saw these pictures, but of course, Joan Racino insisted that I have pictures. So she sent Maria over. So I think maybe what I will do is just do some real fast, and then maybe you'll get a flavor of the environment, and where I was and what I did. How many here saw the movie The Way? Oh, so you have a little sense of what that was.
She didn't. Tell them what it was.
Oh, The Way was, I didn't know anything about The Way either, so I'll get into that and talk. But anyway, The Way was a movie that Martin Sheehan made about 3 years ago, and the storyline is he and his son, some of you may know this experience, had an altercation because the son decided to leave college. Actually, I think he was getting his doctorate, and then they had this back and forth, and he was leaving. He said, where are you going? And he's just going to travel. And his father said, that's not going to get you anywhere in life, et cetera, et cetera. And then the son says, well, Dad, you make your choices, I make mine. But, so it was all about life kind of thing. But he went over and he started the Camino. And then Martin Sheen got a call that his son had died on the Camino. And so he went over to bring his remains back, and while he was there, he met other people who had what we pilgrims, the Camino spirit, and they spoke with Martin Sheen, who decided to have a cremation ceremony over there, and he picked up his son's backpack, and he walked the walk. So, and the story is, and it takes you right through it, and the changes and the transformation that went on in his life, and the characters he met along the way, which is so much a part of the Camino, because that's part of it, the people that you meet, and, it's just quite interesting. So let's get some of these out of the way, and then I'll tell you about the Camino. But anyway, do you remember that little with the arrow? Okay.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to do this fast. Anybody has a question, just raise your hand, or...
I just did the lights.
Oh, the lights.
If we do the
thanks. And then we'll do that, and I will have said that I showed a few pictures anyway. Oh, wow. Okay. There we go. And we'll talk about the arrows. That's what leads you. 500, I didn't do, by the way, I must say, I did not do the 500 miles. Not everybody does the 500 miles. That takes 6 or 7 weeks. So I did Camino Light, I call it. And a lot of people do Camino Light. We did 125 kilometers. But that's what you follow all along the way. And we'll talk about that. And I love meeting people of all ages along the Camino, and that gives you a little bit of, you're going to watch a different terrain. I'm not even sure what's in these pictures, so I never saw them in my life. So here we are, I have no clue what that is, trash bags, that's my friend Joanne, yeah. And you'll see the little yellow arrows, and this is what guides 500 miles. Sometimes you have to look for them in the cement, on the ground, up in the mountains, but that's the way you follow. If not, you're lost. And then that's pretty, there are places, people ask, are there places along the way to stop? Yes, there are, and that's what they might look like. And I love the flowers. That's just a cartoon of a pilgrim, and that's another place, little places to stop. You'll see one of the things, you are so in touch with nature, it is so magnificent. You can't pass a flower again without just saying, wow. So this is kind of just the scenery. I went, I'll talk more about them, with 3 lawyers. Oh my God. And, but anyway, my friend Joanne in high school, she's on the right, and her 2 friends, they were from Portland. And there they are again, and then you start, and then this is what you see along the way, just people, just traveling, and that's what hurts after a while, and then, just to give you a sense, I'll talk us through it again, but none of this is in any order. You'll see along the way people have stopped, picked up stones, found a cross that somebody just planted, that idea. And another little, maybe sometimes it's like 4 or 5 miles, and then you find a little stop if you want to stop, and you go through little hamlets, and you come across some cows, just like you have in Marlton, or that's when I was young, cows, right? And then a part of the pilgrimage is shedding things, and not so much your clothes, but I think the younger people, and people are there for various reasons, which again we'll talk about, but somebody might start this, and the first thing you know, somebody has something that's very meaningful they might want to leave behind. Usually something very deep, and that's what you'll see. Not too much of this. It certainly, doesn't look like. And then every once in a while, you'll see some very meaningful graffiti. Not graffiti around that we see, but you can get a sense, and there's that arrow again. Your whole life is guided by the yellow arrow and all of these wonderful creatures of God that you see. And there you go, and you'll see the different terrain. I hope I can get some of it. I tend to, it's just beautiful as you walk along. But then when you're tired, you've done about maybe 11 miles, and you have to walk over that bridge, and you say, oh my God, I can't do it. but anyway, you do it, and you have to go all the way up. Let me find the arrow again. But, there's another one of that, and then, yeah, when you don't know where you're going, and, that's Puerto Marin, beautiful spot, absolutely. And they're my two friends from Canada. We got, before we started, as luck would have it, we went in and good old Philadelphia Airport, U.S. Airways, we were out on the runway for 5 hours, and then we didn't go out that night. So we met some people from Canada who were also going on the Camino, but not with, they were on the same flight. So we met them as we spent 24 hours in the airport, but then we met up with them 3 days later in Puerto Marin, so we had to celebrate, as you can see. And see, then you get those shady lines, lanes of shade, and it's just beautiful. And sometimes you're out on the street, you're out on, on the road itself. Here are the road markers. You'll notice the pilgrim shell as we go along there as well. That's the symbol of the pilgrim. And there you go. Sometimes it looks like that, and then sometimes somebody will just stop and feel that they want to make it harder for some reason, and some did, a lot of them right there. Anytime, you'll very often see Villanova. There seem to be a lot of Villanova signs, so I took them since it's I graduated. This is the sign that, again, this is a more modern-looking sign that you follow. The pilgrim shell is the symbol of St. James. And then we have, again, showing you the way. And then a lot of flowers, and then a cow, and then here again. If you miss that, you keep walking. If you didn't see the arrow, and pretty soon. Now you see, now they have bicycles and other means of transportation along the Camino. And as you see this couple here, which you have to get out of the way. But anyway, you're getting closer, just some artwork. He was cute. Wait a minute. And he was also very tired. So he just stopped for a little. That's what I think is interesting, how we saw so many people of different ages. What did I do with that? I think it stopped. I think I put it on something wrong. Can anybody get us out of this? It's not going. A lifesaver here. From somebody who knows nothing about this. Oh, good. And of course we saw several churches. Where's that? This way? Oh, perfect. And a lot of pilgrim statues along the way, Casa Villanova, and there you see a huge shell, which a lot of people use as decor. And then this is one of my favorites, walking along early in the morning. These people were in the forest, these two guys, and I said, they had a fire going, and I said, do you mind if I take your photo? And he looked at me and he said, it's your forest. Why are you asking? It belongs to you, that whole ownership thing. And then, this is it. It's that walk-in, and you say, oh, we finally saw some fresh fruit one day. We'll talk about the meals. We had French fries every night, and then we had some wrappers. We had some wrappers along the way, so we loved the wrappers. They, and some of their homes, some were flowers. I think that's what we kept on here. Some very nice homes, very often a statue of the Blessed Mother. And then bread. I don't know how many have been to Spain, but it seems like that's all they ever do is eat bread, right? And so you don't lose any weight, even though you walk 500 miles, because the bread truck is always delivering everywhere you go. And then you see a different terrain there. And just, so I said, you're walking, I think I'm not, well, you'll see this is where you might walk for like 5 miles on something just like that. Then you're back off the road, but it goes in and out. This was right outside Paella. Sister Pat did not eat it, I can tell you that. So, there's some young, usually da-da-da-da. But that's what we have, and you have people from around the world. You meet the whole entire world on the Camino. And and these people were from Australia, so we stopped and chatted with them for a while. And then there's our sign again, keep moving, and yours keep going. There's the shell. Somebody wrote a whole, we won't go into that. But these are storage places that they have over there. There are an awful lot of them. I forget the name right now. And they reverence their dying. The cemeteries are beautiful. Wow. Just beautiful. And a lot of young people. We're getting close now. That's the shrine, Pope John the 23rd. He was good to see along the way, as you can see. And then getting closer to Santiago, there's the shell. There's the typical street. And this is the cathedral. And of course, that's in Finisterre, the end of the land. We'll talk about that. And just wanted to get to the cathedral. Am I too fast? Too slow? There's the pilgrim. Once you reach there, you're feeling good. And there's that mile marker says 00 there. We are right across from you in the Atlantic Ocean there. It's perfect. And of course, you talk to everybody. So, and then I'll tell you the traditions when you reach the end. A lot of people will go there and they will leave their shoes. In fact, I watched a couple go down and we were sitting there. It's the very end, the Finisterre, the end of the land. And this older gentleman, and I can say that because he was older than me, so he was going down and it's very hilly there. So it was a lot of up and down. And he did look like he was going to make it. In fact, somebody was sitting closer to me, and he followed him because he thought he's never going to make it. So this man fell once. He did get up, got right up, and then he went a little bit more, and then he took off his jacket. Nobody knew what he was doing. Took off his jacket, took off his shoes. His wife was right behind him. She looked a little more spry, but she just seemed to let him go on his way. And then they lit a match. They burned their jacket and burned their shoes, and that's somewhat of a tradition that you have made it. This is whatever they came to do. You know, it's a journey of the heart, the whole thing. But that was so impressive to watch that. Both of them. That was their private, ending of their pilgrimage. But that's what they do, and you'll see that down there at the end. And the stair, that's the very end. And I just wanted to, and this is the chapel. If you saw the movie The Way, this is really where they buried. It wasn't really at the cathedral, and they really buried his son's ashes, of course, in the movie, here in a place called Musia, which is just beautiful. And I was so glad we went down that far. A lot of people don't go down this far, but we did. It's absolutely beautiful. And then there's U.S. Airways, and I think we started here, didn't we? Yeah, close to here, whatever. Yeah, I didn't see my one friend, though. Anyway, I'll talk about her. Okay, we'll get started. Well, I'll tell you more about it now that you saw where I was. So, first of all, I'll tell you who I am. I know some of you know me from St. John's and the good old days when I was the director of religious education. But since then, I've gotten much older. And I'm basically, I do not exercise, I do not walk. I love being surrounded by family and friends, and I love being in my own bed at night. So, and I'm one person who always says, without a plan, you perish. I like to know what I'm doing, I like to organize things, I like to do all that. So now, here's what I did, and I still can't believe I did it. I got on a plane for 8 hours, I got off the plane. I got on a train, I got off the train after 6 hours. I got in a cab in Saria because we missed our little group because of the delay in Philadelphia, so we had to take a cab. Finally got the man to speak English. First, I met a young woman, 22 years of age, right before we got in the cab. Now we're finally in Spain. She is all bandaged up. She's 22. She's walking like this. And I thought, Sweet Jesus. She's looking for the pharmacy. Now, what is this? Is this a clue or what? She's looking, and I just arrived, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I want to go back on the train, on the plane, back to dear old Philadelphia, where I lived. Where was I? Oh, I lived in Jersey at the time. So anyway, that's kind of what we did. And then you get up every day and you walk. And you walk, and you walk once you start. When we got out of the cab, he's like telling us, move, 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 and all these bulls are passing. So after I just passed the young woman and spoke to her, now get out of the way of the bulls, and then I'm thinking, oh my God. So then we go to bed, and you absolutely have no idea of what's ahead of you. You have no idea. It's a total unknown trip. You know, if you go down to Long Beach Island, you know what you're going to do. You're going to put on your bed and think you're going to go in the ocean, or just sit and read a book, which is what I like to do. But it was pretty amazing, and all I can say is, from those few pictures, none of which were in any kind of order, it was probably the most profound experience I've ever had in my life. Basically, it was an awakening to some kind of fullness of life. The road that we traveled, and I traveled for 125 kilometers, it was a teacher. The road taught you everything there is to know about life. And it's not that I didn't know it. It's just that somehow or other, my best hopes and dreams were kind of jostled around a little bit and came to my consciousness and caused me to be able to sit down and journal. It just happened. I don't know how it happened, but it was the most profound experience about life. I've made many, many retreats every year. 8 days here, 8 days there, 8 days all over in silence. But nothing really affected me the way this did. I think, you know, and the Seder meal, the first question the child asked in their ritual is, why is this night different than any other? And I always say, why is this walk different than any other? I mean, the amount of people that are doing that these days, I'm using notes because most of you who know me, in like 2 minutes I could be talking about the Eagles game tonight, or Sunday night, so I really prefer to follow a note, and I feel a little far back here, but I'll try. No, I want to be too far back. So therefore, I want to make sure you're out by about 8:30 and not here, because Tony has to go to bed. Tony was our CCD board president when I was here, and he kept us all in mind, right? Rita was there, and a few others on the board.
We had a good time.
We had a good time, that we did. But basically, that is in a nutshell what I did on my summer vacation. I walked. What did any of you know?
I have a question. Why do people do this to begin with? Is it like a penance that they're doing, or are they doing it for...
Okay, that's a good question. And I think for every person that does it, there's a different reason. And historically, I'll start with a little bit of history then. I think that might be good. I'll just, first of all, it is the Camino de Santiago. That is the way of St. James. Now, who's St. James, first of all? And St. James was one of the apostles, of course. The first two were Andrew and Simon. The next two, James and John. They were brothers. There was a James the Greater and a James the Less. James the Greater is the one that this cathedral is dedicated to, and that's who people are celebrating, or used to celebrate. That's why, Marie, I'm going to just get to that, because I don't think it's the way from the beginning days of this. It's been 1,200 years that people have been making this journey.
I never knew that. How did you hear about it?
How did I hear about it?
This is the first time I've ever heard of it.
Okay. How did I hear about it? And that's part two. Let me just get to this, or as I said, I'll be talking about the Eagles in a minute. So, just to keep on with the, here it is. The story, the history really goes along with this pilgrimage. It's intertwined with the history, of course, of Christianity. After Jesus' resurrection, the apostles basically divvied up different areas, And St. James, the greater, and greater only means taller and older. So that he wasn't greater than the other one, it means taller and older. So anyway, he went and he was ministering in Jerusalem, and then he also found his way to northern Spain. That's where this is. That's where I am at this point in Galicia, to northern Spain. And then while he was there, he was struggling a little bit, even with the people there. There was not a lot of enthusiasm or whatever. And then he found himself back in Jerusalem, where he was captured, where he was beheaded. And the story is that then there was a boat waiting, and again, this goes back a long time, is an actual fact. It seems to be what most of the storyline is at this point in the history fact, that a boat was there, and they were going to take his body back to Spain, back to this northern area of Spain, and that's where they buried him. Am I off here? Yeah. That's where Hello? Battery?
Maybe.
Anyway, okay.
But we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay. So that's where they buried him. So then, as it was, then after, I just want to get these years, around the year 815, a Spanish hermit named Peleo had a vision in which he saw this bright light shining in a forest. And this vision was investigated by the church. And the church found this tomb, this body, that after the study said it was the tomb of St. James. So from there, and that was in Compostela, which means field of stars. The shrine began attracting pilgrims. Now this is back in 815. But then, ever since then, it steadily increased in number until the 11th and 12th centuries. That's when it really started to pick up, because that's when one of the popes said, we are going to build a shrine, a big shrine. We are building a cathedral there. This is the third largest pilgrimage. It's after Rome and after Jerusalem. Then people are going to Santiago, to the Camino de Santiago, the walk of St. James, and that's what they're doing. Now, why do they do it? And one of the popes granted indulgences. So therefore, here's where you get the religious aspect, which it has been from the very beginning. So obviously, if you make this pilgrimage, you will receive a plenary indulgence. There were people making that pilgrimage that wanted to shed themselves of something, but for Europeans, it was nothing. That's where it all was. That's where the concentration was for quite a long time. But then, as more pilgrims were going, the different kings, etc., in the area, the neighboring areas, they had to start looking at pilgrim services. So now you're looking at something that's being built up a little bit. Not to what you see is where it was, and in fact, that was pretty mild, because I guess I took mostly photos of flowers. But that's what they're doing. And the numbers today, so that I get them right, and it says basically, and read back, this pilgrimage was seen as an enactment of the spiritual journey to Christ, and the hardships along the way were welcomed because it tested your faith. So that's the real heart of it. That's what all the Europeans, that's what they did. And then gained this indulgence. And how many of us studied indulgence when we were, a lot of us, we like that indulgence, don't we? You do all this and do that, because then, wow, woo, right up, not a problem in the world. And so that's why they did that. But anyway, I wanted to get those numbers for you. But now, why today? I think today, from what I've read, religious, spiritual, cultural, sport, any reason at all, people are making this Camino. They're paying homage to St. James, not as much as used to be, but even in the used to be, as it was getting, more and more, it was more the indulgence, it was more just a spiritual journey, that type of thing. And so the St. James is kind of not there as much. The spiritual reasons score high. and the people want to think about reasons for living. That's what you more or less see today and hear about today. Every person experienced this journey very, very differently and personally. And I think this is what I wanted to make sure. 2013, there were 215,880 pilgrims.
Oh my gosh.
2014, 240,000 pilgrims. So you see that simple countryside that we at least got to see a few pictures of anyway. So that's a big change. Now what's causing that, I don't know. As far as America, this movie called The Way certainly had an influence, I think, on this, as well as, and there are different parts of the country, and I'll tell you how I got there in a minute, different parts of the country where you get a little pocket of people, and then it starts spreading. It's like evangelizing about such a good thing, and people try it. Who makes this journey? That's what I think is one of the most interesting things, the variety of people. People like old nuns make the journey. People like teenagers are there. There was a group of 235 Episcopalian youth group members that were right near us at the one, when we first came in, from the way. And it's just amazing. This was a writer from Beijing said, Spanish authorities must strike a balance between developing tourism and maintaining the tradition of the Camino. Otherwise, it will lose its soul and therefore its appeal. Because its appeal is definitely a spiritual journey. May have shifted a little bit. I'll bet you ask most of those people, they don't know who St. James is. And it's not just Catholic, of course. It's a very wide scope of people now who are making the journey. But you see those numbers, and it's pretty incredible. And you get, as you go along, I have some show and tell. I bring out my show and tell. I have too many stories. This is really a hard talk to give because you don't know what to do first or second. You need to tell everything in 5 minutes, and it's hard. But anyway, you get this when we got off the train, and then you go to a church, and it's all very official because it has to be stamped. Because to be an official pilgrim, you have to do at least 100 kilometers. And then you go along and you get it all stamped. Now, if you get close to this, a lot of them say bars, but you would never put that in thing. Now, the reason they say that is because a lot of those little stands, they look like Dairy Queen stands. Some of the places we stayed were like right behind there with like four rooms in them, just very simple. But and then somehow or other they call them all bars. But you go along, and then at the end, see how I'm at the end? I didn't tell you how I got this. And then at the end, when you finally make it to the Cathedral of St. James, you stand in line to get your credentials stamped, and then you receive, I am really at the end now, it's graduation, and la la! To say that you were an official pilgrim. And what an honor it is, after making the walk, to actually be an official pilgrim.
How long did it take you?
How long did it take me? I'm going to start from the beginning now. How did I get to go? Now I'm going to start. So the whole thing now I'm going to put in the blanks. Okay. I was minding my own business on a Good Friday.
I don't believe that.
Being quiet with Jesus, and I actually got a phone call, and it was from a friend of mine from high school. And the phone call asking me to go on the Camino. And I'm like, what is the Camino? For those who don't know, I didn't know either a few months ago. What is the Camino? I had no idea. All she had to say to me is, we're going to walk 125 kilometers. She's from Portland, Oregon. I said, now you're not serious. You're calling me to ask me to walk, who doesn't walk from here to my car, or whatever. And it's already, whenever Easter was, April, was it this year? Late? Yeah, April, and they're leaving in June. So I'm like, well, how did this happen? So here's what happened. There was three of and who's that other? Oh, I know. No, there were two girls. My friend Joanne from high school, and her friend. My friend Joanne, the reason she went, she was retiring. She was a lawyer. And finally retired in November. Her greatest desire was to make this trip. That's all she wanted for her retirement. So she obviously knew a whole lot about it. Out in Portland, there's a group that meet, a club or whatever, and it's the people that do the Camino. So she caught on to this years ago. That's all she wanted to do. And her friend was going to do it with her. In steps the husband. Not my friend doesn't have one. But anyway, in steps the husband and says he wants to go too. And just like we would just love to have chili. And Philippine, no. This is a wonderful man, but it's sort of be like, well, why don't we do this, and why don't we do that, and why don't, and all of a sudden their little trip was turning into something else, maybe not as, pure as Joanne wanted it, pure meaning, I just want to do this, let's do this, go here for vacation, let's add this, but she didn't want that, she wanted to go do this. So then she thought, well, maybe 3 doesn't really work, so now she's desperate to find a fourth. And so who does she call? The most desperate, pathetic thing in the world that's never going to say yes to making a Camino trip. So anyway, because there is some wisdom in this. So I said right away, no, well, give me 4 days, but I can tell you now, I can't do it. How could I? So here's some of my wisdom and my lessons, out of this whole trip that I hope to hold on to in life. First of all, I said, I just can't make it. I physically can't do it. I can only, I can't even walk 2 miles, never mind, it's too laborious. I'm going to hold up everybody. What if I fall, and what if somebody at home gets sick? That's another one, what's going to happen? Bottom line, I said to her, there is no blooming way I could ever think about going. Even though I know everybody says it's a journey, it's not a race. So anyway, the wisdom. Everything in my part was all hesitation. So when I sat back and looked at that and got resurrected on Easter Sunday, I said, that's all I'm doing. I'm lacking trust. There it is again. If we lived our life totally trusting in the Lord, we would come out of fear into much more possibilities. And I thought, we do it all of our lives, we all do it, but when I'm saying this Camino trip, everywhere you turned and looked, you're getting jostled with, oh, that's right, I forgot that's all you have to do is trust. Oh, no, I'd rather live in fear, oh my God, I can't do that, I'd stay home and miss the opportunity of my life. But anyway, my nieces are smarter than me, and they said, look at it this way. Even if you can't make a mile, you'll spend 2 weeks with Joanne. You'll have a good time, Maybe that's fun. But really, fear was what was keeping me back, and the lack of trust in that something could, that I can do. Now, understand, we all have plaques on our wall. In God, all things are possible. I have one little one like this. Nina Coker gave this to me in 1973. On the back of it, it says March of 1973. So I guess I knew it then, and I forgot it. And then St. Teresa of Avila, of course, is my favorite. Let nothing disturb thee. All things are passing. Patience endures endures. So, all of these things that we know, we kind of sometimes have to, especially, at this point. We sing, be not afraid. We sing it 3,000 times a year. But anyway, I was afraid. But guess what? Wisdom gained, and that's what I did. So now I'm there. How do I prepare? Just stop me now. We're on the road, so just stop me. Any questions? What was your question?
Did you know how far you were going to walk to stay at a place at night to sleep? How did you?
Well, we did that. Well, they were just going to do potluck, but just like go. But they're not. I have no idea. Their preparation, my preparation is, oh my God, now I better get out walking. Just start walking, doing something. Then in Portland, they're going to Spanish classes. Of course, they're going to Spanish classes. They are walking every day, like 10 miles a day. They are also walking with backpacks. I've never had a backpack in my life on me. I grew up in Philly. We didn't do backpacks. Anyway, So then so that's what they're doing. Here's what I'm doing. Gee, I better find that Cooper. Oh, no, first I had to buy shoes. I had to buy shoes. So I bought the shoes. So I went to, so I went to REI. Let me see if this man is here. No. Oh, my God. I will never. Here's another lesson. You should take all my notes on the lessons. Wisdom, rather. Never take yourself or your job too seriously. This man at that store that I went into, I was never in REI. He was so serious and over the top. So I said, first of all, he said, well, you won't be wearing those loafers. Now, if you remember, I wore loafers when I was here. I wore them in 3rd grade. I've always worn loafers. So he's like being really cool. Well, duh, I think I know that, So he said, put Cole Haan aside and pick out, And I said, do you have any other colors? The whole store was gray and black, the whole entire store. So then he wasn't too funny, and he was. So then I'm talking about, he was trying to sell me everything in the store, and I wanted shoes, that's all I thought I needed. So he talked about a walking stick. And I said, well, will you be falling? I mean, I don't know how, I knew nothing about the trip. Nothing, except buy a pair of shoes. And he said, oh, it's not a question of if you'll fall. It's a question of when, how many times, and how serious it will be. So I think you could have done this with me. Okay, now I'm like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to go. You're in gray, and you're going to fall all over the place. Then he told me about how, then we went into biology. And he liked talking about body parts, the ones that are going to be chafing and things. Honest to God, this is true. And then, we had all that. Oh, and about being regular, you're... and how you have to carry your toilet tissue and what kind of and I was like, I thought, where's the trip? Just to go over there. The wisdom, don't take yourself too seriously or something. So what I did was got my shoes, got out of there, and then tried to go down to the Cooper River, 3.6 miles. I'd go down, I'd get about 2 feet, and there's a regatta going on, and all the boats. I wonder who's down here. So it took me in the meantime, I don't have a lot of time, but anyway, this is my preparation. And again, here, what to pack. That was tough. You know what to pack if you're going to those places, but I grew to love it, but the word was simplicity. We all want it. None of us probably really have it. But every day, up and at 'em, I never had to say, what am I going to wear? Never once. All I did was it the gray shirt or the blue shirt? Oh, it's blue shirt day. And that's basically what you did. And for 2 weeks, it was pure and simple. And before I left, I got a lovely haircut at another place that I thought she thought I was going back in the olden days in the convent. I also didn't talk about the stuff. I didn't know who I was. Who's from me? Jackie, you tell me. I have no hair. I'm tall. I have hair all the time. So, I mean, that's where I went. But when you look at it, though, the simplicity of living like that without all of that, it was just, it was pretty good. But then, so what did the day look like? See, this is organized. They just had to get... So what did the day look like? So now we're there. I told you how we got there. I will never forget the first step as long as I live. Because here we are, we got out of the car, the bulls are there, get rid of them, go ahead, and then we had dinner, and then the next day. Now my insides are like, I have no clue. I have no idea where I'm going, what I'm doing, nothing. And came down, and this was a nice little place where we stayed, and it was along the way. So already at 7:30, there are people passing you by, just with focus, with attention, and you go out and you're feeling good. I put my backpack on, so the small one. This was for the first time, and I'm like, and I look around and I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. This is like, I couldn't wait to you take the first step. So I'm doing my nice new shoes and doing all, and then, that's what you're going to do every single day. Every single day you're just going to get up and you're going to walk. And you wake up and then no new outfits, so that's what you do. Sometimes you'd have breakfast, and sometimes, by the second or third day, you were like, oh, I'm really getting tired, because there was a lot of up, a lot of down, a lot of up, a lot of down. The down sometimes was harder, but guess what? I never fell. I never went back to tell the man. Nor did I ever think anybody else. Remember, we're doing this last part of it, the last 125. I think when you start over there in the Pyrenees, there are many ways to get into the cathedral. But the one that most people travel, you start in the Pyrenees, and then you come actually through Le Puy, where our community was founded, and then on over. But people jump on at all different spots. Some people do this every year. They do a different section every year. A lot of people do a different section every single year. But where do you get your energy? You look around, you go down in the morning, and there are people around, and they're like, everybody's just like ready to go. And it's not that they're all talking and chatting, no, there's just something, there's an energy that you can't describe. As I said, this whole trip to me is a mystery. I don't understand it, but it's just an amazing thing, and that's what happens. So you just basically hit the ground running. And then the terrain kept changing. We saw some of it, not as much as I would like. But as I said, sometimes you're actually on a road with cars and trucks. And then you move into, more of a forest type or a tree, the shady tree lanes and things like that. And you're walking that and you're saying, I could do that 500. I could easily do that 500. And then you come out of that and now it's later in the day. Now it's hotter. The weather we had was perfect. But it's hot. And you're walking there and you're on your 8th or 9th mile and you haven't, you may have stopped once just to get some water. And so you just think you're not going to make it.
You didn't eat lunch or anything?
Well, we kind of waited till we finished. We ate a little breakfast, and we waited. Lunch was 2:30, 3 o'clock, because dinner's not till 8, 9. So therefore, that's kind of the way we did it. So we're just following these little yellow arrows, but here you are, and I can still see the moments when I said, there's no way I can make this. And you'd see, the town. Some of them are a little bigger, some are little hamlets, some are little bigger towns. And you just thought you were like walking on just plain cement, and you didn't know how many more miles it was, and you just say, I can't do it. How am I going to do it? And then you get off of that, and you're going to do it the way you do life. And there's only one way. We all know that. That's what I said. I think it's just that it was just pretty amazing to me, We're all, and that's the way, life, it's not, we pass some nice little bits of water here and there, and you say, it's like, oh yeah, life, it's nice when it's smooth sailing, and, then we all know the turbulence comes, and then the rough waters you hit. But then what came to me a lot was like, you put the one foot in front of it, but our age doesn't calm the waters, and I kept saying, my boat isn't as strong as it used to be, and even that's getting weaker. So but that doesn't change. Life, it's still, whether we were 10 or 94, Diamond, God bless you, 94, and it's one step, and it's with patience. So then you're doing that, and as soon as you get off, forget, you don't think of the big picture. You got to think of the now. You got to think of the next 3 steps, and that's all we can do. So those kinds of things were just coming home. So you just keep walking. You might be walking another 2 hours, and that's what's kind of coming through. And that's, as I said. Nothing distracted you. There was a lot of solitude. You get the sense when you hear those numbers, but you don't see a lot of people on the Camino along the way. You're never alone either. So it's that balance. You're never alone, but you never see a lot of people. We had pilgrim meals. I said they started doing these services because they try and make it as reasonable as possible. And they were usually 10 euros. But they weren't a great variety. I never saw any vegetables. Some did, I didn't. And French fries every night. No matter what you ordered, they had French fries. Now, we cheated a little as far as, now where do people stay? Now, along the way, Michael Sheehan in the movie, they did the hostels, which they call albergues there, not so much hostels. So that's the choice that my friends from Portland were going to do. And then they got a little sensible and said they really can't do it because they're my age and older. And you can't start out, because they didn't want to hurry. They didn't want to hurry. And so they were going to just take potluck. Well, if you've never camped and they've never even been in Europe and they've never done this, it's not the way to go. So I even encouraged, maybe we should at least have a little place to stay. Then you're not worried all day. You take that fear out and where are you going to stay? So we actually had a place. And another thing we do is that they do there now is they'll take your backpack and transport it. Now, even though it's only 10 miles, that makes it, this big, heavy backpack that you've never had on in your life, to carry that now, a lot of the people don't do that. I don't know even what percentage, but I say to get rid of that, and then that's what a lot of people do. But a lot of people carry that whole backpack, the whole 500 miles. It's pretty amazing.
Sugar fakes to get drinks along the way?
Just about every 4 miles, you could get some water or, a little snack or something if you wanted, but not much more than that. So that was, any questions about what a day looked like? Let's start coming up.
So you had mostly good weather, you said?
We had good weather, but there were people that started in France, in the Pyrenees, the same time we did, and they had hail. They were having hail over there. So when you see and hear that, that treacherous...
Do they close that in the winter at all?
Yes. In the winter, there's certain, in the summer, and that's why, again, I said we better have a place to stay, because I knew they weren't the rough and ready type either.
When did you go?
I went June 15th.
We went, I went to Spain, and that was beautiful weather in June.
Yeah, that's always good.
Now, if any of us wanted to go on this, I think I'd be at the bottom of the list. But if I wanted to go, what do? Go to a travel agent?
Well, this group that I went with, they did it on their own. There's and everybody carries a Bible, they call it, but it's the guidebook. And it tells you an awful lot. It's a Byerly guidebook, and it tells you even places where you can stay, how, what you're going to be looking at the next day, that type of thing. Some people get tours. A lot of people get the tours, and they don't stay together, but they pick them up at the end and they take them to the hotel where they're going to stay. A lot of people do that I know of. And, but a lot of people just do the albergues, and 40 people in there. And then there's a community that evolves, with them. Some of those pictures, people started together 500 miles before that, and now here they are meeting at the end, and they'll be friends forever. Yeah. People have met their spouses, if I wasn't looking. That was good wisdom. There's more wisdom on it. But there's stories of the people along the way. At the end, when we got to Santiago and the cathedral, there's an English-speaking mass every day, along with the other. So I met a sister from Ireland, Sister Aileen, and Father John. They were so delightful, but they had a lot of those stories of people that would meet, and things like that, which was great. But then, it's the second day, and if you remember, I told you, why am I here? I'm going because a friend asked me, and I thought, starting to say that, right up, why am I really here, which is what they did in the movie as well. And so I came up with a few things that day. I put it in my journal. Number one, I'm there to honor an invitation by a friend from years ago. I was her guest. That was enough reason. But that wasn't, it went deeper. And the second reason was, I journey in gratitude for all the people I have met along the way. People like yourself. And I prayed my heart out because my life has been blessed. And we have to be able to say thank you to this God in this magnificent country over there, to just say thank you for every human being that has touched my life. Because that's why, who I am today, where I am, and that's the greatest blessing I have. My family, my friends, they make you who you are. That's the true richness in life. And I prayed my heart out in gratitude. And then I thought, we needed to reflect now, you know what? I'm on the last chapter of my life. Some of us here are at that same point. We're in the last chapter of our life. And I thought, I'm really trying to say, I want to be the clearest image of God's presence that I can be. What is it that I have to shed? What have I picked up along the way that I want to get rid of so that I go into my golden years, that I'm into my golden years, and that somehow or other they can radiate and they can shine. Because I know, having taken care of my mother, that old age is not for sissies.
Yeah.
And it is difficult. Old age is difficult. And even if you're still walking around, we have to embrace it in such a way that we don't stop living and growing and being who we are because of our age. And that can easily happen. You get tired of going to doctors. You get tired of doing this. You get tired, oh, right here, who are you? And all this kind of thing. Welcome, don't you love this life? Well, it's not easy. So this was the deepest part of my walk, to reflect on where I am in my life in this chapter, and to be able to say that, to kind of rediscover myself one step at a time. That's how I tried to do it. Whatever God wanted to throw in my mind for another mile, another 4 miles, and just doing it one step at a time. And basically what it did, I just strengthened my resolve to live my life till whatever God calls me back, and to live it to the fullest. But to live it in a spirit of gratitude and a spirit of inner peace. Yesterday I went to a funeral, one of the sisters I entered with, 70, I'm not that old, I'm not old, but not the community, 15 to 4 years. She was diagnosed 8 days ago. Oh. So she went rather quickly. So you go to those funerals, all these things, that Camino spirit, tell myself about that, the Camino spirit just comes right back. It's something that because that's what I spent my time thinking about. Does that mean the whole time I was there? No. Do people stop and talk? Sure. Who are the people I met? Let me tell you. Some great friends. So I'm down in one of those pictures, and it's a pretty plant. I got down, hardly could get up. It was, you can't do that as easy. And anyway, I get up and went, ew! My friend Joanne was taking a picture. This lovely young couple passed, husband and wife, and he says, love hurts. Did you have to say that? Now I have to think about that all the time. And then you got talking to them. They were from Germany. Just this wonderful young couple. And then, everybody's kind of, and I'm not saying it everywhere you go or every 2 seconds. It's that kind of a walk that I never got tired of it. Never got tired of it. And then I met Ian and Patrick, and I'm sorry I couldn't find their pictures, but they were the example of be who you are and be that well. You know my story about REI? That was not a word of it, was not true. Anyway, here's Tina. She's in pink shorts from Ireland, right from Ireland. She's in pink shorts and a pink tube top. And she didn't call it a tube top, she called it something else. And then a belt that was rhinestones, or no, a fanny, for money or whatever. Fanny pack, right? And shoes that you probably will wear to bed tonight, bedroom slippers.
Oh my gosh.
And beautiful woman, and her husband Patrick. And they walked the whole entire way. I said, you were my idol. You went against everybody at REI. You came out the most wonderful person in the world. But last year they walked from Assisi to Rome, if anybody's ever done that. Assisi to Rome. And her but I mean, these are the types of people. Shouldn't you guys say we had a little beer together? And we talked about the old country and the wonderful. Here's one of my favorites. In the very beginning, we met a family. So so, you'll stop and you'll say, oh, where are you from? People are stopping, resting. Oh, we're from Michigan. Oh, good. But the rest of the family's over there. They're from Rhode Island. 3 generations of men. All men.
Oh.
Grandpa, who looked about at least 20 years older than me, and didn't look like he walked any more than me, in fact, less, which is hard to believe. Just to give you, and believe me, I honor and respect the man. I want to show you how he walked.
Oh, my God.
He had his children with him, and I think some in-laws, and 2 elementary school children. All men. Now, I say to you, were they sitting around at Christmas and said, what should we do this year? This is still the mystery of it to me. I wish how did that come to be that these 3, and you don't want to go, hey, why are you here? You don't want to do that, but you wonder. As you meet all of these people, you've got to wonder how they're there and why they, how they got to be there. I was there, we came in a day ahead of them, right at the cathedral, and I saw them coming down, that family. I ran right up and I took their picture, but we can't find it, of course. But that's the kind of girl. How about the mother of 5 who at the English Mass prayed? She was from Ireland too, thanking God that her family gave her the opportunity. Imagine leaving 5 kids. She was 5. She was there walking the way. The mother and daughter. The daughter was gorgeous. She had the most beautiful smile I've ever seen from Chicago. And the mother met her she did about 100 more kilometers than me. The daughter started over in the Pyrenees, the 500, and they met and they walked the rest of the way together. Wow. And then you're sitting there. I mean, it's all those kinds of things. That's who the pilgrims are. Peregrino, as they call them. Anyway, so we get to any questions there? I'm at the cathedral now, so we're almost there. So anyway, so now you get, as I said, every day is pretty much the same. And where do you get your energy? You just look around, and everybody in the morning, no matter what time, getting those laces tied and then starting out. But then we're finally now making it to the cathedral. And that final day was tough. We did about 12 or 13 miles on the final day. And this cathedral is so huge, I thought I would be able to see it from 12 miles away. So I would have hope that it was and you're walking and walking and walking, and anyway, you finally saw it. But there was no finish line. It wasn't like the marathon or people waiting or anything like that. It's just like I've just done something that's just been, for me, the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. I never thought I would do it, and now I'm finishing it, and I never had to get in get a cab or something, because they do have people there in case something happens. I never had to do that, and now I'm finishing. So you go and you're just kind of taking it all in up at this cathedral. Up in Europe they have all those plazas around and things like that. But then you're kind of like propelled very gently right back into life. I forgot to mention that peregrinos, pilgrims along the way, every person says to you as you pass, and you to them, Buen Camino. So can I tell you in 2 weeks how many times I said Buen Camino? Would that be not the wonderful life we would like? I mean, when I left the country in June, it was like a global heartache. We have ISIS, we have Midian, we had Ferguson, Missouri, we had you name it going on. So I go there, I'm somewhat isolated, although I'm doing what I can for peace, because most of us can only pray and be peace to one another. But, I mean, it was like, and here we are, and now I lost my train of thought anyway, that's how we left, and now but you were there with the whole world. It was just incredible. But, so then we go into the cathedral, and I thought, when I saw the movie, as those who saw the movie, do you remember the scene in the end with the urn? They had, the incenser, the thurible, they call it, for fancy language, and then they put the incense in it. Well, this stands as high as me, or not higher. It's on a pulley, and 6 men are out here, and they're the ones controlling it. And it comes down, and they're men in red velvet capes, and they put the coals in, and then they start, and it's after communion. They don't do this at every Mass, and this starts. and the fragrance is just coming out. And this cathedral is the size of, I think, 3 football fields. So this starts going, and it starts going, and the fragrance of God's love is the only thing you can think of, and it's all over that cathedral, because everybody in there has just finished a pilgrimage, has just finished, what they started out to do, and all their hopes and dreams are just rising up to the Lord. And this just swings back and forth on this pulley. It is probably what I was so hoping that wasn't just in the movie in Hollywood, because it was pretty incredible. And then so there you are. Santiago is built up, but I don't think too touristy. I didn't find it that way. I just found it, and they do have an English-speaking mass, which was good, and that's where most people finish. Not that we walked, but we decided to go to Finisterre, which is what they did in the movie, but we drove. And just magnificent going down, but spent the day there that was just incredible. Just kind of on the rocks, quiet, reflecting, taking it all in. That truly is the end of the land. Surrounded just by water, you just keep walking. There's nowhere else to go with your old self, but put on your new self, and hopefully you can walk those waves and do whatever. And as I told you, the tradition of some people just burning and shedding, which I think is very much more apparent today than it had been in other years. But that pretty much sums up what it was like. Any questions? Or what did you do in your summer vacation?
Did you fall on your knees and crawl up to the altar?
I didn't fall on my knees because my knees are too old. But I did go to confession, and I won't tell you what I said, but I did go to confession. Why not? Nobody spoke English. No. I heard of roads, and that's all around the cathedral. They have whatever language they're speaking, that's there. So I, of course, went to Irish. And anyway, I knew it would be really good. So he said, well, for your penance, he said, well, I think you've already done your penance. He said, you've already walked the Camino, but he said, I just want to remind you, there are many more Caminos to walk at home. All you're doing is walking through life again when you go home. So that whole cathedral experience was pretty incredible, and then we went off down to Finisterre. Yes, Rita.
How'd you find the accommodations?
The accommodations?
Yes.
Well,
I don't know, like it's like a 5-star, it's a nice house.
Oh, yeah.
Did it have a bathroom and a tub?
Well, it had a bathroom and a shower, but that was also part of the learning. Every shower was different, so I'm not, as you can see tonight from my great slide presentation, I'm not very technical, and I could we spent the first 5 minutes trying to figure out how to turn on the shower. But there were some places, there were just 4 rooms.
In your home, they don't even have a shower.
Yeah, well, they're getting a little, as they're starting, without being too touristy, but some places are only like 4 rooms, and as I said, they're almost attached to a Dairy Queen or something. Then one place was really nice, and we thought we were in a country club. I mean, it was just like, hi, look at this. But very simple. 2 beds, shower, and just, because that's all you do, and then you get out and you walk. Any other questions? Yeah, come on.
How many miles a day did you walk?
Well, we only did, and that's, my friends from Portland, that's just what they wanted to do. My slip, I only put my clothes in 5 months ago. Oh, I would have closed that. We did about 8 to 10. I think a lot of people do the 12 to 15, 16. And somebody from our parish, thanks to somebody from my parish had done it right before me. I never knew her. I'm over at Christ the King, Mount Haddonfield, and she, they did too much. She said she would rather have taken another day, because people like myself that, don't do this every day, that why make it so that you're not there? Yeah. And then, I think you miss the beauty of everything you can take in and all that we can have. Yeah.
How many hours did you walk?
We walked 6 or 7. We started out about 8. Yeah, about 7, sometimes a little bit longer. We only stopped once. We usually just stopped once. That was pretty much what we tried to do. Yes?
I don't know if somebody asked, what about going to the bathroom?
Okay. Well, these places, that's the nice part. My friend at REI, I must tell him I didn't need his little wisdom because there were bathrooms, and I would say very clean. You always had to check if there was along the way, but, there were other people using other bathrooms along the way, and that could make it to, you never knew. Again, here's the unknown part. Here's the part of it that you just gave over, Is there a mile? I mean, there's no big road signs except these yellow... This is it. Yeah. This is where you went. There's nothing saying, something's coming up. This is all it was, And, so I think people made out, I was really pleased with that. Because I remember at St. John's we used to have, in September, what do we have, Mary? The family retreats. And remember in September, camping retreats. And I was always on the committee but voted for, can we go to the shore? I don't know anywhere but a campground. One year we went to Harvey Cedars, the charity sisters, they never wanted us back. I used to dealing with teenagers where, they have the money.
Winding River.
Yeah, they some flying closets at night. No, they really did that. They went ahead and prepared that. They do not take credit cards. No, they take credit cards. They don't take the reservation. They'll take your name. You must call 24 hours each night, at 24 hours ahead to reserve it, after you've reserved it from the state.
So do your cell phones work?
Yes, you get some international, and cell phones do work. We had one phone that we depended on, in case of emergency. That's how we did it.
I guess they had people that camped out also.
Yeah, they had some people that camped out, my friends in the forest, that say, sure, take my picture at your forest, So, it was...
And I've heard you can stay with families sometimes, too.
Oh, yeah, you can stay with families.
For a small field.
Oh, sure. Sure. And you just hope that they can, a lot of very famous people have taken, it's just incredible when you think 10,000 from America last year. 10,000 from America. But it was just, again, I say, for me, just a very profound experience, and one that I didn't learn new things, but boy, a lot of things came into focus, and as I said, especially as we continue to plug along and live the life, as fully as we can, as long as we can, that kind of thing. It was just, yes.
Now, you had everything for 2 weeks in your backpack.
Yeah. It was always gray or blue shirt. And it was even heavy then. I can't even imagine, because I've never had one on. I didn't even put it on until, even at the airport, I was carrying it like a purse, and then just when we finally had to put them away. Yes.
Washing your clothes.
Washing your clothes. Just in the sink, a little bit in the sink.
Every day
every day, yeah. But you got all these special clothes from or Columbia that, I don't know, they're this resistant and sweat resistant and that resistant, and you just couldn't wear your t-shirt. That's what they said.
How did your shoes feel?
My shoes felt pretty good. I only went to the pharmacy once for something, which was really a miracle, but I really made out fine. God was good. I had them taken and I said to my friend Joanne, who bought them for me, I said, do you think I could burn them now? They're burning shoes. She said, don't you dare.
What time of the day did you usually end your day?
2:33, because we had lunch.
Okay.
But now, some of the ones that did the 25 miles, they were going up till 5 and 6 o'clock. And they were, the people that I know that have done that are not used to walking, they'd never do that again. They wanted to enjoy the experience more. Yeah.
Where do you land when you get there?
We landed in Madrid. We landed in Madrid, and then we took a train. Some people fly to Santiago and then take a bus, to where you start, like Sarria or one of the other other towns, and then they walk. Walk.
Well, how did you get back then from the cathedral?
Well, then you're at the cathedral, then we flew back to Madrid, and then came home from Madrid. Yeah, and we stayed there in Santiago a couple of days, which I was so grateful, because I love hanging out. In fact, I want to sign up to be a volunteer next year. I haven't gotten to that yet, but that's what they're trying to really nurture a English-speaking ministry, so that when people come, it's only Spanish. The church was great. I was there for Corpus Christi. The Archbishop was wonderful, I thought. No, like, real high church, except some of the priests had some really a lot of gold ones. But he was very down to earth, very, very welcoming to the pilgrims. Just, would you come up and read? Would you come up and read? And of course they had to know Spanish, but it was very friendly, very warm in this beautiful, magnificent, ornate cathedral that's been standing there for so many years and welcoming so many pilgrims. And how long it's just getting bigger and bigger. And it's, I think personally, it's people who are the people that I know. Somebody, Jackie McBride's son, walked it for his 50th birthday. So he was one of my guides, told me what to expect. People do that, some people lose a job and trying to figure out their life. I've spoke with somebody, there. Families, the people that I mentioned, just, every reason is any reason, but God welcomes it. It's one thing you're in holy ground. Since 1200 years, people have been walking in some areas that everybody has to pass through. So narrow, and I'm not going to narrow, but, and so you just go gingerly. How many people walked on that? And all their lives, whatever their lives were, their joys, their sorrows, their heartaches, they all came, and you're all one. Like, that's what I was thinking of before, too, when I started that whole thing about peace. The world was so crazy, and yet over there, everyone, buen camino, buen camino. What a world! If we acknowledged everybody's presence, and nobody ever forgot. Even the crazy bikers. Woo! Buen camino, buen camino! Anyway, and so I better wish you a good evening, because it's we're already over an hour, and I don't like to. I just want to thank you all. You were great. I pray for you, because I pray hard for my marathon days in gratitude, because I can tell you, I stand in awe about that. But I was going to ask everybody and give you a chance to tell me what you did on your vacation. But look at this. I found this is Las Vegas. This is from the church. So guess what I did on vacation? I went to Mass in a casino. It's a sure bet. And it's only in Laughlin, Nevada, Paradise, by the Colorado River. The pastor gives these out to everybody as they're leaving church. Anyway, I'm glad I did stand. Thanks, Mary.
She's still telling us that it's fun to be a nun. I was going to tell you that she had some pamphlets over there, but they're gone.
Oh, that's
because she had some programs going on in Christ the King that I thought you might be interested in. But anyhow, if somebody does have them, they can.
Do you want us to go around to Christ the King? So it looks like you have a good time. Following, to have a fight.
I'm a follower.